still the same. Yes, that's just one song from so many wonderful songs on the album. Actually, 10 tracks, SHAZA Leigh, Where Our Heart Lives. And believe it or not, on www.ozcmr.com, I've got the wonderful SHAZA Leigh from Tamworth, from the LBS studios. Hello, SHAZA.
Hello, Mark. It's such an honour to be with you, mate. It's been a long time.
Well, an honour it is for me, for sure, because, yes, we have been admirers from a distance for some time now, SHAZA. Me being on air and you being with the wonderful LBS studios and Lindsay Butler. It's just so beautiful to have you online and to be able to have a chat.
Thank you so much, and we've always been very fond of the Mildura region, as you know.
Yes.
Down there many years ago before Lachlan was born, and we've had some wonderful times in Mildura, and it's lovely now that you're broadcasting across the world. So it's a pleasure to be part of your program and have a chat to your listeners.
Yes, and before we start about your wonderful career, SHAZA, I want to. We've got so many. Terrific artists that record through LBS over the years and have been Oz, and still are OZ CMR feature artists. And I keep on suggesting to people that there's a few studios in Australia that really stand out, and yours is one of them. And it's mainly because of the wonderful team of instrumentalists, a team of technical people that you have around you at LBS. You've been very fortunate over the years. When did it all start for LBS, SHAZA?
LBS music actually started back in 1994 when Lindsay and I got together. And that's what was the start of the LBS music group. Prior to that, Lindsay actually opened his first little studio in his backyard in 1989, and I was actually one of the first artists to record in his studio. And it's gone from there, and it's really gone from strength to strength. Lindsay's always been a master producer, and I've always believed that the success of our company has always started with the quality of the music that he produces. And the team of musicians, he always tends to be very loyal to a core of musos, which actually give us the sound that we've always produced, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. And also, as you rightfully said about Lindsay, but I think that you have to have an ear for music and for artists, particularly vocalists. And I can't think of an artist that hasn't stood the test of time with your studios.
Yeah, I think that probably another ingredient for us too, when we've looked for artists, talking about them standing the test of time and having longevity in the industry, that's actually what we look for in an artist. And we like artists that are actually a little bit unique and they have their own sound, their own delivery. Yes. And everyone that walks through our door, we treat them differently, and we actually treat them as being an individual performer in their own right. So once we settle in on a sound that suits them, we tend to try to find out exactly where they sit musically, and then we try to create an artist rather than just producing an album. And so therefore, when we're taking on an artist, we tend to try to look at a long-term career for them rather than a quick overnight turnaround that we produce an album and that's it. So the career development side of it, we've always taken that very seriously. And even to this day, the artists that actually still record with our company, some of them have been there for 20-odd years, Mark. And
yes.
the ones that really sell and the ones that really stand up and have that dedication and passion and drive, they're the ones that tend to cut through and have the long-term careers. Some people just are happy to come in, do one or two albums, they've satisfied, and they've surpassed anything that they ever dreamt that they'd achieve, and they're happy to settle back. But the ones with that passion and that drive, and that rare, unique talent, they're the ones that generally stand the test of time.
And I think everybody that's listening will attest to that, that it's the genuine sound of the individual that I can put on air and know straight away that that's Carol Chaney or that's SHAZA Leigh.
Absolutely. So you know exactly what I'm saying.
Yes.
Each artist in their own right, they're all independent, they're all individual, and even though we use the same team of musicians and give them the same quality of production, they've all got their own independent sound, and that's what we try to achieve for everyone.
And this is a terrific segue into what I'm going to be talking to you about. I really admire the songwriter, and I think that another thing that LBS is being able to give to the industry is the beautiful songwriting. And you, SHAZA, I hold you up very, very high in Australia as a one of our master songwriters. You just put out so much beautiful material, and not only do you sing it yourself, but I find your product on so many other albums, and they just make an album. So congratulations on that beautiful work.
Look, thank you so much, mate. And that's really special that you would say that. It means a great deal to me, because the songwriting side of it I'm very passionate about. I absolutely love being able to say in a short-form song for an artist what they like to say themselves. So
yes.
When I write for other artists, I tend to try and imagine titles and content that they feel as a person. And I guess over the years we've become quite close with a lot of our artists and know where they all stand and what they like to sing about. And so that's always been something that I've been very mindful of in my songwriting, that when I write one and it comes on down, I generally know which artist that song is for. And in a lot of cases I actually sit and, like we're doing putting together new songs for Ashley Cook at the moment.
Yes.
And so I just sat and just wrote for him. And so therefore we pumped out a whole heap of songs that were specifically for him.
Wow.
It took me one day, and in 2 days I wrote 10 songs that we needed for the various artists for the country collections. And so it's something that I absolutely love. It's one of my favourite things that I get to do. And every now and then I actually make time to write one for myself as well.
Of course, you're an award-winning songwriter. So where do you think that starts? Where do you think songwriting starts for an artist? Somebody that appreciates and knows music and can put lyrics together. So what do you find first is the most important ingredient for a songwriter?
Understanding what you're going to write about, who you're writing it for, and your purpose. Whenever I tell a writer, why are you writing that song, when I sit to write with other young writers that have never written before, why are you writing this song? What do you want to say? And it's like writing an essay, and I say this to them. If they think back in school when they had to write an essay, they need to have an opening for a song. They need to have the plot of the opening of an essay. They need to have the plot, and they need to have a closing. And so, therefore, you need to tell a story in 3 to 4 minutes maximum. And so that's what you're trying to achieve in paper. And then it's very important that they understand the fundamentals of poetry so that the lines actually rhyme in the right place. And that's where a lot of young people these days haven't taken the time to study the master poets and the brilliant writers of the past, where first thing I get them to do is just write out one of the classic pieces and break up the structure, and so they understand where the stanzas rhyme. So that's probably the main thing. And ultimately, once you understand the process of writing a song, the way you write hit songs for people is to have a purpose and say something that firstly people want to hear and that the artist wants to sing about, because if they record one of your songs, they need to feel good about translating that message for the rest of time.
Yes, and the great songs that we do hear from great songwriters are generally motivated by something in their life. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it is. And I guess when we all start writing, and I wrote my first professional song when I was about 12, and that one actually saw the light of day. When I was younger, I used to write totally from the heart and totally from within and what I wanted to say. As I've probably matured as a writer, and I don't say that lightly, I've got a few years on me now, but with that maturity in years came the maturity in writing too, that you start to think outside of your own core, and you actually are more observative of what's happening around and more focused on trying to tell the stories that need to be told. It's not necessarily just by yourself, but by others as well.
And SHAZA, do you have writing workshops there?
Look, I never have, and I have had so many people ask me to do it. And it's something that I probably would love to do. It's just, I guess, really finding the time.
Yeah.
What I've always done is that if an artist is coming in as a singer-songwriter, generally I spend about a week with them before we go into production.
Okay.
That way I get to know them as a person, we write together, and
Lovely.
even if I write songs for them during that week, I'm writing for them, not for anybody else. And so I guess that's been the way that I've actually nurtured a lot of professional singer-songwriters, and I guess I've probably always looked at myself more of a finisher and a polisher to take songwriters from the average rank to the professional rank. And I probably believe that's where I have the most to contribute. But I have had a lot of people say that I could probably help a lot of people from the ground up. I just have never had the opportunity to do that.
Yes, you've got to find time. That's all I can say.
Exactly.
SHAZA, just before I leave that, I've got to mention a tune that I've picked up the last couple of years, and just I think it'd be played at least once a week on my radio program, and that's just a beautiful, beautiful tune called Mist on the Murray, and you know that I play it often, and it was recorded so beautifully by Anthony Baxter and Lindsay on their album. Where in the heck did you pick that up?
Oh, look, thank you very much for that. I know that you've supported that track, and because that one was very, very dear to me. When I wrote it, I just knew that it was going to be a hit song. Had all the ingredients. And the reason it was written was that Lindsay told me to go and write him a song in the key of E for that particular album.
Oh, honestly,
he said, just go and write me something in the key of E. Well, righto. So I just went yada, 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 did it, took it out to him at the barbecue, said, here, do you like this? And he went, yes, that's it. So,
is it a song as well? Is there lyrics to the Mist on the Murray?
No, I never did. Lindsay wanted it specifically as an instrumental. He just wanted an instrumental in the key of E. And so, therefore, I think that's where I sort of closed the chapter on that. However, I know that I probably should revisit that down the track because it is a lovely tune.
Well, I'll open the chapter and I'll say that it'll be an all-time classic because it's just a beautiful piece of music. Let's go to this fabulous album of yours that I've had so much pleasure in playing, Where Our Heart Lives. And you've very, very kindly sent me a message and said how delighted you are that so many people are liking the album. It's just terrific. And SHAZA, what I'd like to go through with you for this particular album is just to tell me how you came about writing the different tracks. And we're going to start off with a song that I heard first up, Where Our Heart Lives. I had heard it previously to the album being recorded.
Yes, we did do that as a pre-release. It came out on the Country Collection, and yes, it did win several awards the year that we released it. And this particular album was one that we pulled together from a lot of the singles that I had released, and a lot of them had had various success in different awards, some of them as vocal awards, several of them as songwriting awards, and I think a couple of them on that album actually won me the National Songwriter of the Year. And so a lot of the tracks on that particular album had been previous hits, and what we did is we went in and recorded a selection of other material to complement that collection, and I wanted to put that album out as my 14th album. I have another one in the can ready to release, which was going to be 15 albums over 30-year career. And that was the marketing thing all ready to go.
Yes.
COVID actually pushed all of that back, so I never had the opportunity to promote this, Where Our Heart Lives, until now. And so, therefore, it's probably going to be 15 albums over 31 years, mate.
Yeah, well, let's go quickly through them. So what was the motivation behind writing Where Our Heart Lives?
The title track of the album.
Yes.
I wanted a really strong, powerful title track, and I wanted it to be my lead single that I swung that album off, and so I just sat down and wrote the title track.
Okay. And the next one, 1,000 Reasons?
That one was actually written about Peg's father. I was sitting having a chat to him when he was alive a few years ago, and he was telling me about the times that he was out in the bush. He was a real bushman, and how he missed it. He just loved it, and it was only due to ill health that he came back to Tamworth to live permanently.
Okay.
So when he went home, I actually just jotted this out, and I loved it so much that I ended up recording that myself.
Lovely. And the next track, Sometimes?
Sometimes was that was actually written about dealing with mental health, because that's something that most people struggle with to some degree these days, and it was something that I wanted to deal with across the different images as such.
Yes.
And so if you listen to that song knowing and understanding what it's about, it'll probably give people a different insight and a different level, rather than it just being a love song, which is what most people think it is when they first listen to it.
Yes, and it's through this COVID time, I think I've said this 1,000 times on air, that, mental health is such an issue, and so many songs are coming out in regards to mental health and the different aspects in relation to it, because it's different with different people, of course.
Yes, and I think people, like especially entertainers at the moment, they've probably had the toughest 12 to 18 months that they've ever had in their careers. And I know we're no different. We've made a living out of music since I was 20, so that's well over 30 years now. And the last 12 months has been the only time that I haven't had an income. And, so it's been something that's probably to the forefront of most entertainers' minds. And so therefore they're all finding their own way of trying to keep themselves balanced, trying to keep themselves positive.
Yes.
And I think we're getting a lot of positive content coming out, which is actually helping the whole population because of where the artists are sitting themselves.
Yes, true. One of the important things with an album, as you would contest, being an expert after all these years, is being able to get the right songs for the album, and if you're going to choose a traditional album, make sure a traditional song, make sure it is complemented by the album, and that next track, A Mother as Lovely as You, really fits in the album, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on that point, when you're collating songs for an album, and this goes for every artist, we do a lot of this, that we pull albums together for people. But there's the highs and the lows and the dynamics in the songs too, so that when this is something I was told very early in my career, and it stayed with me, and I still use this today, that when you take your album out to work it on the road, the songs must have that nice ebb and flow with the highs and lows and dynamics, so that your album can translate into live performance. Yeah,
absolutely. I had the absolute pleasure of choosing a single for this particular album to promote it through OZ CMR, and I chose Traces of Doubt.
And I was so excited that you picked that song, because we had never released it as a single. we released it on this album as a new track. It was nominated and won me the National Songwriter of the Year.
And I didn't know that.
And then with COVID, we never did anything with the single. So I was absolutely delighted when you chose that song, and it was the first time that it's ever been aired. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, people have absolutely loved it. And I love the arrangement as it's coming into the song at the start. It's beautiful.
Thank you very much. I think that might have been Peggy Gilchrist.
Yeah, I'm sure it was Peggy.
That played that.
I'm sure it was Peggy. And what I did, I've done it a couple of times. After your track, I play a Peggy Gilchrist.
Yeah, and look, she's a marvellous talent in her own
isn't
right.
she ever?
We're very lucky to have Peggy part of our team permanently. And
Absolutely.
She's one of the core people in our business. Peg tours with us as our touring pianist.
Yes.
But she also is very involved behind the scenes in all the recordings that we do, but also in the office. She's quite proficient on the computer and helps us out a lot behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Anybody that wants a beautiful album of from a lovely pianist, Peggy Gilchrist is the way to go for sure. All right, and then you got to co-write the next song, Nobody Wanted to Know.
Yes, that one was handed to me by Graham Pearson.
Right.
And that song was Tony Brooks' poem originally, and I just loved the poem. The poem was probably twice as long as it could be for a song, which would have been why the story was never ever picked up by any of the artists in the early days, because Tony used to write for Slim.
Yes.
And the story was very long. So what I did was actually I rewrote of it to actually condense it down, and I really loved that song, and it's something that I've probably experienced true to form as a young artist coming through, and some of the artists that had gone before us and how they felt like their time had passed.
Yes.
And so that song had a deep connection for me as a tribute to the pioneers that I sort of started out in this business with.
Yeah, I don't know Tony Brooks.
Oh, okay. Tony was from the Atherton up in Queensland, and he wrote a few songs for Slim in the early days.
Okay.
And I've written quite a few with Tony over the years, and he actually passed away. So I was really pleased when Graham handed me that song, and when I looked at it, I thought, I've seen this before, and I think probably once again, because I'm probably a much more mature writer than I was when I first saw it, I was able to see the merit in rewriting it now.
Yeah, and also Pictures on the Wall is another co-write with Tony.
Yeah, same deal.
Yeah.
That one was handed to me in that collection. I wrote that song and gave it to a friend who had already cut it, but she didn't do anything with it, and I thought it was too good a song to not really be worked, and so therefore I whizzed in and did a version myself for this album as well. Yeah,
it's a beauty. It really is. Now, when you take on a song like When I Dream, you've got to make sure that you nail it. And
try to get it right.
And you have, SHAZA, because it's a favourite of mine, and there are there's an Irish singer that does it beautifully as well. But I love the original too, of course. But you've done that. You've done a beautiful job with that, and congratulations.
Thank you. Every now and then I pick one of those massive international hits.
Yeah.
If I think that I can make them my own and do them in my style. I never try to copy any of the originals or anything that they do, because I figured that I'm better off doing it my way. And so I guess I was really, really happy with that particular track. I thought it was really beautiful, and that's why it saw the light of day, because if I'm not happy with the way I deliver one of those covers, we just never release them. Yeah, yeah.
And in recent times, you've introduced me to a lady that I never knew previously as a recording artist, Jean Darnell, because Jean's put out a beautiful gospel album. Actually, it's a very popular one here, and I've put it on a feature that we have here at OZ CMR that I put up from time to time. And actually, I know a couple of my loyal listeners that have purchased that album from Gene, in actual fact. But and you've put If I Could Fly on your album, a co-write with Gene.
Yes. What happened with that one? Because I co-wrote a few of the songs on that EP that we did for Gene, and it was just a project of pure love. We all enjoyed being part of that project, and that song we released it on her album with her doing the recitation portion and me singing part of the song. And she actually rang me up and asked me whether I would think of actually recording it in its entirety one day for her so that she could use it on her funeral. And I thought, well, actually, I can probably do a little bit better than that. So as a surprise, we went back in, pulled the file up, put a complete vocal over it, and then Lindsay remixed it, put it on this album for her as a gift.
Yeah, beautiful. It really, it's a lovely, lovely tune. Now, the last one, I don't know who Anonymous is that you wrote this one with, but You Must Not Quit. I played that earlier this morning. It's a good track.
Thank you. That was one. I had a friend who came and gave me that as a poem, and we were unable. It's a really old traditional poem that's been around for yonks, and there was no record of who had actually written it. So the arrangement is mine. I actually wrote the tune and edited the poem so that I could perform it. And I just thought it was a nice, worthy inclusion. We actually recorded that as the closing track for my 50th DVD. So it was pre-released on the Golden Jubilee DVD. And we thought, look, it had never been on an album, so we just slotted on as the closing track on this album.
Fantastic. Where, just incidentally, where can people go that are listening right now to, I know it, but I would like you to just share it with us. Where can they go to see the product that LBS distributes?
They can go to LBS Music, so lbsmusic.com.au,
yeah.
or they can just Google SHAZA Leigh, SHAZA LEIGH, and it's one Z. If they Google me, there's more about me up there than I remember myself, Mark. So all of the albums are listed. Ultimately, it'll come through to my mobile phone number, and we'll be able to sort getting product through to them. And we have most of my material available electronically if they just want to buy one track.
Yep.
Or alternatively, if they'd like to buy hard copy, we'll gladly send one out for them.
And I'll tell you something else too that people can do. They can get Lindsay's own material, which is absolutely fantastic. Do you know, I was going through my vinyls the other day. I got quite a few vinyls of Lindsay.
Oh, and most of those vinyls have been reissued on hard copy now.
Oh, right.
We have a lot of them available on hard copy. And the ones that aren't, we're in the throes of throwing them up electronically so people can at least buy the tracks. We're really trying to preserve Lindsay's body of work, and we've even been very proactive on Facebook and YouTube, putting up clips and that of Lindsay's music as well. So that we're very keen on trying to capture him playing as many songs as we can over the coming years, so that people can always just go and watch Lindsay Butler play. Because I've got to say, I've had the privilege of standing beside him on stage for over 30 years now,
yes.
And I never tire of watching the way that he just he is the master of country guitar, and the way that he caresses a fretboard.
Yeah,
it's really very few ever achieve that feel.
Anyway, it's fantastic, SHAZA, having you on my program, and fantastic having your album, Where Our Heart Lives. In particular, that, we're reviving, as you said, reviving the album because it was produced back in 2019, but with COVID, it's like yesterday because nothing's been done. So we'll be looking forward to your body of work coming out. It'll be fantastic, and I hope we can be a part of that.
Thank you so much for everything, and I would just like to say I appreciate all of your listeners that have actually made the effort to call us up and have purchased the album, and thank you so much for the promotion, and not just for us either, Mark. Thank you for everything you do for the Australian country music industry, because it's people like you that actually allow us to do what we love, mate, so thank you for everything.
And it's you that allows me to do what I... So, Shazza, pick a song that we'll go out with from the album.
Or have you played Where Our Heart Lives this morning?
No, well, it wouldn't matter, because it doesn't matter how many times we play it. People still ring me and they say, I want to hear it. And I say, well, I've played it once today.
Yeah, I'm actually very partial to the title track on that album. I just love it. It's exactly where I sit. And,
fantastic.
And it's exactly how I feel about this country and about life in general. So I would love you to share that.
Well, that's a beautiful intro to the song, and I'm going to follow that up with my favourite, Mist on the Murray.
Oh, yes, and I'm very happy about that one too.
Okay.
Thank you so much, mate. We'll get you the new album as soon as we release it.
Wow, can't wait. Thank you, Shazza.
Thanks, Mark.
That was SHAZA LEIGH, folks, and this is the title track of that brilliant album.